The Bible slammed against the nightstand like a judge's gavel, pages fluttering open to Leviticus as my father's roar shattered the midnight hush. You think God's deaf to your filthy prayers? Boy, he sees the devil in you. I bolted upright, heart pounding like a trapped animal, only to feel his meaty hand clamp around my wrist, yanking me from the sweat-soaked sheets where I'd been whispering desperate pleas to a heaven that felt as distant as the stars over our Ohio cornfields. In that frozen instant, as the room spun with the scent of his aftershave and brimstone, I knew my secret wasn't just out. It was exorcised, raw and bleeding, into the unforgiving light of our family's fractured faith. The drag from bed to hallway was a blur of flailing limbs and guttural accusations, my bare feet slapping against the cold linoleum like the echo of my own unraveling soul. Dad, please, it's not what you think, I gasped, but the words dissolved into the air, thick with the weight of his Bible still clutched in his free hand, its gold-embossed cross glinting like a badge of impending doom. Mom hovered at the kitchen door, her apron twisted in white-knuckled fists, eyes wide with that familiar mix of terror and resignation. The same look she'd worn since the mill layoffs turned Dad's temper into a live wire. "Evan," she whispered, voice cracking like thin ice. "What have you done, Evan?" That's me, 18 years old, valedictorian of Milford High's class of 25. The kid who lettered in track and volunteered at the church soup kitchen, all while burying the truth so deep it festered like an untreated wound. I'd been praying for months, on my knees in the dim glow of my desk lamp, begging God to rewire the ache in my chest whenever Jake from the wrestling team flashed that crooked grin in the locker room. "Straighten me out, Lord," I'd murmured into folded hands, tears soaking the carpet. "Make me normal, like Dad," with his calloused hands from the factory line and his unshakable belief in the American dream. God, guns, and a son who'd carry on the family name with a wife and 2.5 kids. But tonight, he'd found the journal, tucked under my mattress like contraband, its pages filled not with quadratic equations or college essays, but confessions scrawled in frantic blue ink. I kissed Tommy behind the bleachers at homecoming, and it felt like fire, not sin. "What if I'm broken?" He'd burst in unannounced, the door frame groaning under his 250-pound frame. And now here we were, a holy tribunal in our split-level ranch house on Elm Street, the one with the flagpole out front and the Pray for America sign in the yard. He shoved me into the living room, the plaid couch sagging under my collapse, and loomed over me like a thundercloud. "Broken? You're possessed, Evan. The devil's got his hooks in you, twisting what God made pure." His voice boomed off the walls, adorned with framed crosses and a faded photo of him in his army fatigues from Nam, a younger version of the man who'd raised me on stories of grit and glory. Mom sank into the armchair, murmuring prayers under her breath, her rosary beads clicking like a metronome to my doom. I curled into myself, arms wrapped around knees scraped from track practice, tasting salt on my lips, tears or blood, couldn't tell. The interrogation lasted hours, or maybe minutes, time smeared in the fluorescent glare of the overhead light. He quoted scripture like bullets. Romans, Corinthians, the fire and brimstone specials that Pastor Hale thundered from the pulpit every Sunday. Men with men. That's an abomination. You think I raised a queer under my roof? The word landed like a slap. Queer, ugly, archaic. A slur from the old neighborhood taunts I dodged since middle school. I wanted to scream that it wasn't a choice, that the dreams of strong arms and whispered secrets had haunted me since puberty hit like a freight train, but fear glued my tongue to the roof of my mouth. Instead, I whispered, "I'm sorry, Dad. I'll pray harder." I'll change. By dawn, the decision was made. No more school until fixed. No track meets. No friends, especially not the ones who'd linger too long in the parking lot after practice. He'd drive me to the conversion center in Dayton himself, the one pastor recommended, where troubled youth emerged renewed in Christ. Mom packed a bag with my clothes, her hands trembling as she folded my favorite flannel, the one I'd worn to junior prom, stag, because asking a girl felt like lying to the stars. It'll be okay, baby, she lied, kissing my forehead. God's got a plan. The drive to Dayton was a funeral procession, cornfields blurring past the Chevy's windows like golden mourners. Dad gripped the wheel white-knuckled, radio tuned to gospel hymns that wailed about redemption and chains breaking. I stared at the dashboard, tracing the cracks in the vinyl, wondering if this was what rock bottom felt like. The center loomed on the outskirts, a squat brick building with a steeple that mocked actual churches, surrounded by chain-link fence and signs proclaiming victory over sin. Inside, the air smelled of bleach and stale coffee, and a counselor named Brother Mark greeted us with a handshake too firm, eyes gleaming with zealous pity. "Welcome, Evan. We're here to guide you back to God's design." His office was a shrine to normalcy. Family photos of smiling wives and kids, a rainbow flag crossed out in red marker. Dad nodded approval, clapping my shoulder hard enough to bruise. "Fix him, brother. He's a good boy, deep down." Then he was gone, taillights fading into the haze, leaving me adrift in a sea of strangers who saw me as a project, not a person. The first week blurred into a haze of group prayers, one-on-one counseling, and mandatory Bible studies where we recited verses like mantras. The other boys, 8 of us, ages 14 to 20, shared war stories in hushed tones during smoke breaks, electric shock therapy relics, forced hetero porn viewings that left us nauseous. There was Caleb, 16 and freckled, who confessed to stealing glances at his stepbrother. Marcus, a black kid from Cleveland with a poet's soul, quoting Whitman to cope. We bonded over the absurdity, whispering jokes about straightening our ties instead of our souls. But beneath the gallows humor, the ache gnawed, isolation from home, from the life I'd built brick by fragile brick. Nights were the worst. Curled in my bunk, I'd replay Dad's face, that mix of love and loathing, and wonder if prayer had ever worked for anyone. One evening, after a particularly brutal session where Brother Mark made us visualize repelling same-sex temptations with imagined flames, I slipped into the chapel alone. Moonlight slanted through stained glass windows depicting the Last Supper, all those men breaking bread together, and I knelt, not praying for straightness, but for survival. "If you're there," I murmured to the empty pews, "show me a sign." Anything. The sign came in the form of a letter, smuggled in during mail call. Not from Mom or Dad, no. They sent pamphlets on overcoming homosexuality via certified mail, but from Jack. Jack Harlan, the new transfer from Chicago who joined the track team midseason, all lean muscle and easy laughter, with hazel eyes that crinkled like autumn leaves. We'd barely spoken beyond "on your mark," but he'd noticed my absence, cornered my coach for my address. The envelope was scrawled in bold print. "Hang in there, Evan. The team's not the same without your killer splits. J." I read it under the covers with a flashlight, heart stuttering. No pity, no preaching, just a reminder that outside these walls, the world spun on, and someone remembered my name. Jack. The boy who'd high-fived me after relays, whose scent of pine soap and fresh-cut grass lingered in my dreams. flushing the note down the communal toilet after memorizing every word. I told myself it was nothing. But as sleep claimed me, for the first time in weeks, the prayers shifted. Not for change, but for courage. Discharge came after 30 days. Progress noted in Brother Mark's report. Code for, we broke him enough to send home. Dad picked me up in silence. The Bible on the passenger seat like a silent sentinel. Mom hugged me too tight at the door, whispering apologies into my hair. Life resumed its facade. School, church, track. But the cracks spiderweb deeper. Whispers followed me in the halls. Heard Evan's been to one of those camps. And Dad's eyes tracked me like a hawk, Bible verses pinned to the fridge as constant reminders. Jack found me at practice that first week back, leaning against the bleachers with a Gatorade in hand. Dude, you look like hell. What happened? His concern was casual. American boy genuine, the kind that made my stomach flip. I shrugged, lacing my sneakers tighter. Family stuff. Rough patch. He didn't push, just jogged beside me for laps, matching my pace without breaking a sweat. Well, you're back. That's what counts. Race you to the finish. We ran, wind whipping through the Ohio chill, and for those fleeting minutes, the weight lifted. Jack crossed the line first, turning with a grin that lit the fading sun. You're slower than molasses, Whitaker. Gotta step it up. I laughed, real, unguarded, and punched his arm, the contact sparking like static. That night, staring at the ceiling, I didn't pray. I hoped. Fall deepened into winter, leaves crunching underfoot as Milford High buzzed with homecoming hype. Dad eased his vigil, buoyed by my reformation. But the journal stayed hidden, its pages now filled with sketches of running tracks and fleeting thoughts of hazel eyes. Jack and I fell into rhythm. Post-practice burgers at Dairy Queen, study sessions in his basement den where his mom baked apple pie and his little sister begged for piggyback rides. Jack was an enigma, openly flirty with girls at pep rallies, yet his touches lingered on my shoulder. His jokes veered into territory that blurred lines. One snow-dusted evening, as we shoveled his driveway, he paused, breath fogging the air. You know, Evan, you're different. Not in a bad way. Just real. His glove brushed mine, accidental on purpose, and the world narrowed to that point of contact. I pulled away, mumbling about frostbite, but inside, the dam cracked. Was this the temptation they warned against? Or the grace I'd begged for in disguise? Christmas loomed like a double-edged sword. Family gatherings with aunts cooing over my glow-up, church pageants where I played Joseph to a blank-faced Mary. Dad clapped me on the back during carols, pride flickering in his eyes. But Mom's gaze held shadows. Guilt, perhaps, for not fighting harder. Jack invited me to his family's New Year's bash, a casual bring-your-A-game text that I agonized over for hours. Going meant risking everything. Staying meant suffocating in silence. I went. The Harlan house glowed with string lights and laughter, a far cry from our somber tree trimming. Jack pulled me into the throng, introducing me as my running partner in crime, his hand warm on my lower back. We toasted with sparkling cider, danced awkwardly to old Springsteen tracks, and when midnight struck, the room erupted in cheers. In the chaos, his lips brushed my ear. Happy New Year, Evan. Here's to us figuring shit out. The word echoed as I drove home through flurries, heart a wild drum. But dawn brought reality. Dad's truck in the drive, early from his shift, and a missed call from Pastor Hale. We need to talk. Son, Dad said over breakfast, his fork scraping cereal bowl like nails on chalkboard. Someone saw you at the Harlans. Getting too close to that boy. Paranoia? Or betrayal already blooming? I nodded, throat tight, vowing silence. But as January thawed into mud season, Jack and I inched closer, stolen glances in the weight room, late-night texts about dreams and fears. He confessed his own cracks. Parents divorced, mom remarried to a jerk. The pressure to be the man of the house. I don't know what I want half the time, he admitted during a rain-soaked run, water streaming down his face like tears. But with you, it feels right. The kiss happened in April, under a canopy of blooming dogwoods in the park after state qualifiers. We'd qualified together, a 1-2 punch that had the crowd roaring, and adrenaline surged as we collapsed on the grass, breathless and alive. Evan, he said, voice husky, and then his mouth was on mine, tentative at first, then fierce, tasting of salt and victory. The world exploded in color, every warning from the center dissolving like mist. Kissed back, hands tangling in his damp hair, the universe reduced to this us, unbroken. We pulled apart gasping, foreheads pressed, and in that haze, I whispered, I think I'm gay, Jack. Have been forever. He smiled, thumb tracing my jaw. Good. 'Cause I'm falling for you, idiot. Summer unfurled like a promise. Secret meetups at the quarry, swimming naked in the moonlight, bodies mapping new territories of trust. Jack's touch was reverent, exploratory, erasing the shame with whispers of beautiful and mine. We talked futures, me to Ohio State on scholarship, him to community college for engineering, road trips across the heartland. We'll make it, he'd say, tracing constellations on my skin. America's big enough for us, but shadows lengthened. Dad's questions sharpened. Who's this Harlan kid? Why's he always around? Mom deflected, but her worry lines deepened. And then, the betrayal. A church youth group friend, Tommy from the bleachers days, who'd spotted us at the quarry. Whispers reached Pastor Hale, who reached Dad. The confrontation erupted on a sweltering July night, Dad bursting into my room mid-call with Jack. Phone flying across the room. You're with him? After everything. His face purpled, veins bulging like rivers about to flood. I stood, defiant for the first time, chest heaving. Yes. And I love him, Dad. It's not a sin, it's me. The slap echoed like thunder, my cheek blooming fire. Get out. You're no son of mine. Mom wept in the hall as I grabbed my duffel, the journal spilling pages like confetti of my soul. Jack's truck idled at the curb. He'd come when I texted SOS. And as we peeled away, Ohio shrinking in the rear view, I glanced back at the porch light, a lone beacon in the dark. The highway unspooled like a black ribbon under the sodium glow of street lamps. Jack's old Ford pickup rumbling toward Columbus, where his uncle had a spare room and no questions asked. My cheek throbbed in rhythm with the engine, a purple bloom mirroring the bruise on my heart, but Jack's hand on my knee anchored me. You're safe now, he murmured, eyes flicking from the road to me, hazel depth steady as a compass. We'll figure this out. Together, together. The word was a lifeline, but doubt gnawed at its edges. I'd left everything. The house with its creaky stairs and Mom's lavender-scented hugs, the track where I'd carved my name in sweat and speed, the fragile piece of pretense. Dad's final words, "Don't come back until you're fixed," echoed like a curse, the Bible he'd hurled at my feet skidding across the lawn like discarded scripture. What if love wasn't enough to outrun the ghosts? Columbus hit like a fever dream. Skyscrapers piercing the night sky, the Scioto River glinting under bridges alive with traffic. Jack's uncle, Ray, a burly ex-Marine with a buzz cut and a beer gut, grunted approval at the door, clapping my shoulder with a grip that said he'd seen worse. "Kids these days," he muttered, handing me a key. "Couch is yours till you get on your feet. No drama here." His place was a bachelor's bunker. Packers posters, empty Coors cans, a TV eternally tuned to ESPN. It smelled of motor oil and microwave burritos, a far cry from Elm Street's pot roast Sundays. But it was shelter. Mornings blurred into job hunts. Me slinging lattes at a hipster coffee shop near Ohio State, Jack welding at a garage downtown. We stole moments in the pre-dawn haze. Coffee brewed black, kisses tasting of toothpaste and possibility. "I love you," he'd say, forehead to mine, and I'd echo it back. The words a talisman against the calls I ignored from Mom's number. But the city, for all its bustle, amplified the isolation. At the shop, barista's side eyed my faded Milford track tee. At night, we'd walk the short North Arts District, hand in hand under the radar, but every honk or stare felt like judgment. August brought OSU orientation, a whirlwind of crimson jerseys and frat chants that swallowed me whole. Campus was a universe unto itself. Gothic spires and brutalist libraries, quads buzzing with kids chasing dreams unscarred by small-town shrapnel. I dove in intro psych, lit surveys, runs along the Olentangy Trail where the air hummed with change. Jack cheered from the bleachers at my first club meet, hollering like a one-man fan section, his pride a bomb. But distance crept in. His shifts stretched late, my study groups ran long, and the quarry swims faded to hurried hookups in his truck, passion laced with urgency. Then the letter came, slipped under the door like contraband. Mom's handwriting, looping and familiar. "Evan, please call. Your father's sorry, pride's a sin too. Come home for Labor Day. We miss you." Enclosed was a photo, the family at the county fair, Dad's arm around her, a forced smile cracking his mustache. My chest tightened. Forgiveness? Or a trap? Jack found me on the balcony, staring at the skyline, tears carving tracks down my dust-streaked face. "Go if you need to," he said, voice steady but eyes shadowed. "But no, I'm here. Always." I went. The drive back to Milford was a pilgrimage through corn-choked backroads, radio static spitting country ballads about lost loves and second chances. Dad waited on the porch, flannel untucked, Bible absent for once. His hug was awkward, bone-crushing, reeking of Old Spice and regret. "Boy, Evan, I was wrong. Scared you off like a damn fool." Inside, pot roast simmered, Mom's eyes red-rimmed but hopeful. We talked haltingly over dinner. Not the core wound, but Edge's, his factory fears, the layoffs looming like storm clouds, how protecting me had twisted into poison. No mention of Jack. That stayed buried, a secret sharper than any blade. I slept in my old room, walls still papered in Eagles posters, and dreamed of hazel eyes dissolving into Dad's furious glare. Morning brought church, a tense tableau in the pew, Pastor Hale's sermon on prodigal sons, landing like veiled barbs, congregants' glances pricking my skin. But Dad squeezed my knee during the Lord's Prayer, a silent olive branch, and for a heartbeat, I glimpsed redemption. Labor Day weekend stretch taut, barbecues with cousins who ribbed me about city life, track scrimmages where old teammates clapped my back too hard. Tommy lurked at the edges, eyes averted, the betrayer turned ghost. On the last night, Dad and I sat on the swing set in the backyard, stars wheeling overhead like indifferent witnesses. "I read your journal," he admitted, voice gravel. "After you left. The pain. Son, I didn't know." Tears tracked his weathered cheeks, and he pulled me close, the man who dragged me to hell now anchoring me to earth. "Love's love, I guess. Just be careful. World's not kind to our kind. Our kind." The phrase hung, a bridge half-built. I drove back to Columbus with a tentative peace, Mom's care package of jerky and cookies on the seat. Jack waited with pizza and beer, his embrace erasing the miles. "How'd it go?" he asked, and I spilled it all, ending with Dad's words. He laughed, bittersweet. "Progress. But hey, we're building our own world." Fall semester ramped up, leaves turning the campus into a fiery mosaic. Jack and I carved our niche, tailgates with my dorm buddies, who ribbed us as the inseparable duo without probing deeper. Bonfires at the gorge, where we'd steal away to make love under blankets, bodies sinking like perfect relays. He opened up more, his own flirtations with guys in Chicago, the confusion of crushes on both cheerleaders and closeted teammates. "Bye. Maybe," he shrugged one night, tracing my collarbone. "But it's you, Evan." Labels be damned, yet undercurrents stirred. Dad's calls grew sporadic, laced with questions. Seeing anyone special? I'd deflect with school talk, but guilt festered. And Jack, his late nights at the garage bred suspicions, texts from a coworker named Riley popping up with heart emojis. "Just shop banter," he assured, but doubt seeded like weeds. Thanksgiving shattered the idyll. I opted for Columbus over Milford, craving neutrality, but Jack's mom insisted on a family feast in Dayton. Her new husband, Carl, was a Boilermaker with a handshake like a vice and jokes that veered too close to no-homo punchlines. Jack's sister, Lily, 12 and sharp as a tack, pulled me aside. "He talks about you nonstop." Like, gross amounts. We laughed, but tension simmered, Carl's eyes narrowing at our casual touches, Jack's jaw clenching over pie. The drive back was silent storm. "Your stepdad's a dick," I muttered. Jack gripped the wheel. "Yeah, well, family's family." "Suck it up." The words stung, echoing Dad's old playbook. That night, in the dim of his apartment, way out of town, we fought, words flying like shrapnel. My clinginess, his evasions, the fear we both carried like lead vests. "You think I don't worry?" he shouted. "Every day. About losing you to some straight boy fantasy your dad planted." I recoiled, the center's ghosts rising. "And you? Hiding behind by like it's a shield." We made up in the raw tangle of sheets. Apologies murmured against skin, but the fracture lingered. December brought finals frenzy, snow blanketing the city in hush. I aced exams, Jack landed a promotion, and for Yule, we strung lights in Ray's living room, a makeshift tree from the dollar store twinkling like hope. Dad sent a card. "Proud of you, son. Merry Christmas," with a Buckeyes mug, the gesture warming despite the void. New Year's Eve, we climbed to the observatory on campus, bottle of cheap champagne in tow. Fireworks bloomed over the skyline, and as the clock struck, Jack pulled a velvet box from his pocket. Not a ring, but matching silver chains, pendants engraved with infinity loops. "Promise," he said, clasping mine around my neck. No matter what, our kiss tasted of futures, fierce and fragile. Spring semester dawned crisp, cherry blossoms dusting the oval like confetti. Track season reignited my fire, personal bests, medals that felt like vindication. Jack cheered louder than ever, his presence a talisman. But whispers from Milford trickled in. Dad's plant closing, layoffs hitting hard, his drinking ramping up. Mom's emails begged visits, painted pictures of a man unraveling. "He's trying, Evan. For you." I went home in March, alone. Milford was a ghost town, boarded shops and for sale signs like scars. Dad looked hollowed, whiskey on his breath, eyes bloodshot. We fished at the creek, lines cast into murky water, silence companionable at first. Then, "That Harlan boy, he good to you?" I nodded, throat tight. "The best." He reeled in a perch, gutted it with practiced flicks. "Love like that, it's rare. Don't let fear steal it." His hand on my shoulder. "Steady now, no Bible in sight." Back in Columbus, I told Jack everything, and we made plans. A road trip post-graduation, Route 66 style, chasing sunsets to California. Our American dream, he grinned. But April showers brought storms. Riley, the coworker, became a fixture, texts I glimpsed, late overtime shifts. Confrontation brewed over beers at a dive bar, the jukebox crooning Johnny Cash laments. "It's nothing," Jack insisted, but his eyes darted. "She's just easy. No complications." Betrayal landed like a gut punch. Riley wasn't she. A slip in his defense, the truth spilling. A guy from the shop, bicurious and uncomplicated. No family baggage. "It was one time," Jack pleaded, face crumpling. "I panicked, your dad, the future." I needed simple. Rage and grief warred in my chest. I stormed out, rain lashing my face as I ran the streets, chain pendant heavy as chains. Days blurred into radio silence. Mom called, voice breaking, "Come home, baby. Your father's bad, heart scare." I packed for Milford, heart a lead weight. Jack's voicemails piling up like unanswered prayers. At the farm, Dad lay pale in the hospital bed, monitors beeping dirge. "Evan," he rasped, gripping my hand. "Forgive me." "Like I forgive you." Tears came, hot and unbidden. We talked then, really talked, about his youth, a crush on a bunkmate in Nam, buried under medals and marriage. "I get it now, son. Love's the hardest fight." He stabilized, but I stayed, nursing him through rehab, the farm's rhythms a reluctant balm. Jack showed up unannounced, duffel in hand, eyes hollow. "I fucked up. Let me fix it." We walked the fields at dusk, air thick with honeysuckle, and I saw the boy who'd run beside me, not the ghost of betrayal. "Prove it," I said. He nodded, staying to help, mending fences literal and figurative. Dad grunting approval over shared beers, Mom beaming at their easy banter. Summer solstice. We drove west, windows down, Springsteen blasting. The heartland unfolded. Prairies to deserts, neon motels and diner pies. In a Grand Canyon motel, under star-pricked skies, we renewed vows, chains glinting, bodies entwined, forgiveness a slow burn. "No more hiding," Jack whispered. "You and me against the world." but worlds collide. Dad's call came in Albuquerque. Full recovery, but the plant's gone. He's moving to Florida with Mom, starting over. Visit anytime, son. Bring that boy. Pride swelled, humanistic grace in the rear view. California welcomed us with salt air and rainbow flags. San Francisco's hills a metaphor for climes conquered. We crashed with Jack's cousin, a drag queen named Sasha who schooled us in queer lore over mimosas. Job hunts led to barista gigs in the Castro, apartments with bay views. Pride weekend, we marched hand in hand, signs reading "Love Wins," the roar of the crowd a symphony of belonging. Yet climax brewed in quiet moments. Jack's restlessness, dreams of adventure clashing with my grad school plans. What if we want different things? He voiced one fog-shrouded morning. Conflict crested on Twin Peaks, city sprawling below like a challenge. I can't lose you, I choked. He pulled me close. Then let's build it different. Together, the betrayal scar faded to silver, a reminder of fragility. Dad's letters arrived. Postcards from Key West. Found a church that preaches love, not fear. Humanistic arcs bend slow, but they bend. Fall in the Bay Area wrapped us in a golden haze, fog rolling off the Pacific like whispered secrets. But beneath the glamour, cracks widened. Jack thrived in the chaos, bartending at a Castro dive called the Misty Moon, slinging Manhattans to leather-clad patrons who tipped in 20s and wisdom. This is it. Evan, freedom, he'd say, eyes alight with the neon pulse of nights that stretched till dawn. Me, law school at UC Hastings loomed, a towering edifice of casebooks and cold calls, my acceptance letter a ticket to stability I'd clawed for amid the wreckage of Milford. But stability felt like chains when Jack chafed at routines, his wanderlust a live wire sparking against my anchors. We'd found a shoebox apartment in the Mission, murals exploding in color on every wall, Ticarius scenting the air with cumin and lime. Mornings were ours, huevos rancheros on the fire escape, his head on my lap as I quizzed torts, laughter bubbling when he'd mimic professors with exaggerated drawls. Negligence? Hell, that's just life. Babe. Affection mended the Riley rift. Our love a resilient weave. Dinners at dim-sum joints. Hikes in Muir Woods where redwoods dwarfed our fears. Yet his late shifts bred ghosts. Cologne not his on his collar. Phones silenced during inventory. October's chill brought Dad's visit. A whirlwind from Florida sun to San Francisco chill. He arrived at SFO in khakis and a polo, Mom's quilted jacket slung over his arm, looking every inch the retiree reborn. Evan, look at you, city slicker. His bear hug crushed doubts. And over clam chowder at Fisherman's Wharf, he grilled Jack like a suspect. You treated my boy right? Jack grinned, unfazed. Better than right, sir. He's my North Star. Dad chuckled, clapping his back. And for a weekend, we played family cable car rides, Alcatraz tours where he quipped about escaping my own prison of ignorance. Mom, via FaceTime, teared up, we're proud, baby. All of us. They left with promises of Thanksgiving in the Keys, but the glow dimmed. Jack's energy shifted, restless scrolls through adventure blogs, mutterings about seeing the world before we're old. I buried it in briefs and moot courts, the law's logic a bulwark against emotions tide. November hit with elections, the city electric with hope, but our bubble burst mid-month. I came home early from a study group, finding Jack on the couch with Tyler, a coworker from the bar, tattooed, easy smiling, their knees brushing too close, laughter dying as I froze in the door. It's not, Jack started, but Tyler bolted, mumbling apologies. The fight was cataclysmic. Accusations hurled like grenades. My controlling schedules. His running from real life. You think this is enough? He yelled, gesturing at the peeling paint and stack of bills. Pouring drinks while you chase prestige? I need more. Evan's space. Adventure. Betrayal's echo from Riley amplified. My voice breaking. Space? Or just someone uncomplicated again? I'm tired of being your safe harbor till the storm passes. He stormed out, crashing at Tyler's platonic. He swore later, but the seed of doubt flowered into thorns. Days dragged in Arctic silence. I aced midterms on autopilot, runs along the Embarcadero pounding out rage. Mom sensed the fracture, her texts gentle prods. Talk to him, honey. Love's a marathon. Dad called. Gruff. Men screw up. Forgive, or cut loose. But don't drag it out. Reconciliation came ragged, on a rainy Thanksgiving Eve. Jack appeared soaked at the door, pie from the bar in hand, apple, my favorite. I miss us, he said, voice raw. We ate on the floor, crumbs scattering like confetti, and talked till dawn. His fears of stagnation, rooted in a childhood of shuffled homes. My terror of abandonment, etched by Dad's initial rejection. Let's compromise, I proposed. Summer sabbatical, you road trip. I joined for the end. No goodbyes. He nodded, tears salting the crust. And we sealed it with slow, reclaiming love, bodies remembering what words fumbled. The holidays healed in fragments. Flights to Key West, where Dad barbecued snapper on the beach. Mom's conch fritters a taste of home. Jack charmed them effortlessly, diving for conch with Dad, braiding Mom's hair with seashell clips. He's a keeper, Dad whispered as fireworks lit the Gulf. Back in the bay, we leaned into the season. Tree trimming with drag queens from Jack's bar. Carols belted off-key at holiday markets. But undercurrents persisted. Tyler's lingering glances at bar nights I crashed. Jack's packed bag for a weekend guy's trip to Tahoe that smelled of escape. Winter break yielded to spring's restless bloom. Hastings devouring me in contracts and con law. Jack picked up shifts at a new spot. The Eagle's Nest. A leather bar with an edge that thrilled and unnerved him. It's alive here, he'd enthuse, recounting flirtations that danced too close to lines. Jealousy gnawed, but I swallowed it, focusing on internships. A clerkship at a firm downtown, championing LGBTQ plus rights cases that mirrored my scars. You're changing the world, Jack said, pinning my tie before interviews, pride genuine but tinged with envy. His welds paying rent, my path veering toward corner offices. April's cherry blossoms fell like warnings. Dad's health dipped, a bout of pneumonia from the humidity, and guilt pulled me south for Easter. Milford felt like a half-remembered dream. The creek thawed, cousins' weddings blooming. Dad, frielier but fierce, pulled me aside post-church, heard about the rough patch. Fights make steel, son. But trust, it's the forge. His eyes, once stormy, held quiet wisdom. The Bible now a bedside companion for comfort, not condemnation. Returning, I found Jack distant, our bed cold from his bar closes. The confrontation simmered till May, erupting after my clerkship acceptance party. A rooftop bash with classmates toasting futures. I came home buzzed, expecting celebration, but found him packing, duffel zipped, note on the fridge. Need to breathe. Tahoe again. Love you. Rage boiled over. I called, voicemail after voicemail, till he picked up a mid-engine roar. "What's this, Jack? Running every time it gets hard." "It's not," Static crackled. "Tyler's there. Support." The lie hung, and I hung up, shattering a mug against the wall, shards like my resolve. Nights alone amplified the ache. Runs turning to marathons, law texts blurring through tears. Friends rallied, study group beers where I confessed fragments, their hugs a chorus of "you're enough," but the void echoed. He returned 10 days later, tanned and contrite, Tahoe tails sanitized, no Tyler mentions, just ski slopes and stargazing. I panicked, he admitted over takeout pad thai, hands trembling. "Your success. It highlights my drift. But I want this us." Forgiveness was a choice, not a feeling. I chose, pulling him to bed. Our reunion fierce, reclaiming territory. Yet the scar itched, a reminder that love's humanistic heart beats uneven. Summer break arrived like a truce. I sublet to a classmate, freeing funds for Jack's odyssey. A cross-country hitch from Frisco to NYC, Greyhound hops and couch surfs with queer collectives. 2 months, he promised. Then we reconvene in Ohio for your graduation. I nodded, masking the terror, seeing him off at the bus depot with a kiss that tasted of goodbye. "Document it all," I said, pressing a journal into his hands. My old one, reclaimed from Milford, pages a map of survival. Solitude sharpened focus, pro bono shifts at a clinic, advising trans kids on name changes, their gratitude a mirror to my healing. Mom visited, filling the apartment with gumbo and gossip, her embrace a bridge to Dad's improving breaths. "He's joining a support group," she shared. "For parents like us." Learning to listen. Tears came. Progress. Slow as tides. Jack's postcards arrived like breaths. Vegas neon. Miss your laugh amid the slots. Route 66 diners. Pies not as sweet as you. Appalachia trails. Hiking alone sucks. Need my partner. They stitched the distance. But late-night calls revealed cracks. Bar hookups confessed as mistakes. Loneliness luring him to arms that weren't mine. "It doesn't mean I love you less," he'd plead. Voice slurred from bar hops. Betrayal's sequel. Softer but no less cutting. I hung up, curling into sheets that smelled of him, whispering prayers not for straightness, but strength. Climax crested in July. A call from Ohio. Dad's group trip to a retreat, inviting me and that boy for a reconciliation weekend. Hope flickered. I texted Jack, en route from Philly, "Come home. Family awaits." He arrived disheveled, bus-weary, but eyes sparking at the farm's familiar silos. Dad greeted with handshakes, Mom with hugs, and the weekend unfolded in raw vulnerability. Bonfires where Dad shared his nom secret fully, Jack his nomadic fears, me the center's horrors. "We're all broken," Dad said, passing the esmores. "Grace glues the pieces. It bonded us, the 4 of us flawed, human under Midwestern stars." Jack and I drove back renewed, hands intertwined, the journal filled with our scribbles, plans for a life unbound by fear. August saw my return to Hastings, him to the Eagle, but with boundaries drawn. Open talks, no more solos in shadows. Yet fate's dramatic turn waited in September's equinox. A letter from the firm, early promotion, requiring a move to their LA branch. "It's huge," I told Jack over wine on the fire escape, city humming below. His face fell, adventures paused, his bar roots uprooted. "LA? That's far from everything." Conflict reignited. Softer now. My ambition versus his roots. Love the battlefield. We adapt, I urged. Or we break. He chose adapt. Packing with me. The drive south, a montage of playlists and pit stops. LA sprawled welcoming. Beaches for runs. WeHo clubs for nights out. A studio in Silver Lake with views of the Hollywood sign. Dad's approval call. Chase it, son. Drag him along. Mom's care package. Sunscreen and pride pins. But in the cities of angels' glare, new temptations gleamed. Auditions for Jack at indie theaters. My long hours at the firm. Romance simmered, but drama loomed. Tyler's surprise visit. Just passing through, crashing our couch. Old flames flickering in shared joints. I saw the glances, felt the chill, and confronted. Not again. Jack swore fidelity, but trust's thread frayed. The breaking point crashed in November, rain lashing our windows like accusations. Tyler confessed to Jack. A drunken advance rebuffed, but the seed of doubt sown. Why does it always circle back? I roared, packing a bag for a solo drive to Big Sur. Because I'm flawed, Evan, but I choose you every damn day. His plea halted me, rain mingling with tears on the stoop. We rebuilt from ruins. Therapy sessions in Echo Park, where a counselor unpacked our traumas, his abandonment echoes, my rejection scars, humanity in the mess. Winter solstice brought fragile peace. Beach bonfires. His script readings to my legal briefs. Love's romance rekindled in candlelit tacos. Dad's Christmas card. Roots and wings. Son. You've got both. And in that humanistic bend, we glimpsed eternity, not perfect, but profound. LA's relentless sun baked the fissures we'd patched, turning tentative mends to glass under pressure. By spring of my second year at the firm, the grind etched lines around my eyes, billable hours stacking like Jenga, clients' custody battles over queer kids mirroring my own ghosts. Jack flourished in fits, a breakout role in a queer indie flick. Echoes, playing a drifter finding love in dive bars. Critics lauding his raw vulnerability. Red carpets followed, flashes popping like gunfire. Starlets draping his arm for photos, platonic. He insisted, but the tabloid whispers stung. Hollywood's new heartthrob. Who's the mystery man? Our Silver Lake nest. Once a love den, morphed into a revolving stage. His auditions clashing with my depositions. Dinners cold from microwaves. Romance survived in stolen slots. Sunrise jogs along Venice Beach. His hand in mine as waves crashed confessions. You're my constant, he'd murmur, sand gritting our toes. But constants erode. Tyler's visit evolved to sporadic crashes, networking excuses that reeked of smoke and seduction. I confronted over huevos at a truck. Voice steady. He's not family, Jack. Choose. He did. Tyler's duffel hit the curb that night, but the echo lingered. Trust a house of cards in Santa Ana winds. Dad's annual pilgrimage arrived in May, a bomb amid the blaze. He flew in solo, Mom nursing a hip, his frame wirier but spirit unbowed. Evan, you look like a lawyer, sharp suit, sharper eyes. We toured the firm, his awe at mahogany desks palpable. From mill floors to this, damn proud. Jack joined for Griffith Observatory hikes. Telescopes trained on stars Dad named from Army nights. Over In-N-Out burgers, they bonded deep. Jack's script vulnerabilities, Dad's retirement tales of fishing charters. You too, solid as redwoods, Dad grunted, ketchup on his chin. His hug at LAX. Hold tight, son. Storms pass. June's pride swelled the city into a kaleidoscope. Parades down Hollywood Boulevard. Floats thumping Gaga anthems. Leathers and glitter a defiant tapestry. We marched. Chains glinting under rainbows. Jack's arm around me as chants of love is love drowned doubts. That night, rooftop after-party at the Abbey, champagne fizzing like hope, he dropped to one knee amid confetti. Not a proposal, but a vow. Marry me? Someday. When the world's ready, or fuck it. Tomorrow. Tears blurred the skyline. I nodded, kissing him fierce. The crowd's cheers a chorus to our yes. But climax coiled in summer's heat. Jack's film premiered at Sundance Proxy in L.A., a velvet rope affair where agents swarmed like sharks. Post-screening gala, I mingled in ill-fitting tux, legal small talk clashing with starstruck haze. He shone interviews, toasts, but vanished mid-party. Phone dead. Panic clawed. I cabbed home, finding him slumped on the stoop, eyes bloodshot. Overwhelmed, he slurred. Needed air. With someone. Tyler's name hung unspoken, confirmed by a text ping, wild night. Call me. Betrayal's third act. Operatic in cruelty. The fight raged till neighbors banged walls. My screams of pattern, not mistake, met his sobs of fame's poison. I'm drowning, he confessed. A kiss at the after-party. Lines blurred in champagne fog. Tyler's hotel room avoided but temptation tasted. I stopped it, he begged. You're my endgame, but endgames fracture. I left for the firm couch. Dawn breaking over smog-choked freeways. Heart a crater. Weeks blurred in professional autopilot. Motions filed. Settlements inked. But nights dissolved in bars. Anonymous hookups chasing numbness. Guilt's bitter aftertaste. Friends intervened. Sasha from Frisco, now LA-based, dragging me to yoga. Breathe, honey. He's human. You're whole. Mom's calls anchored. Your dad's praying. For both of you. Come home if you need. Dad texted a photo. Him at a beach sunrise. Caption storms brew. But light follows. Jack's overtures piled. Flowers at the office. Voicemails cracking with regret. A script dedicated to my muse and mirror. I resisted. Therapy unpacking the cycle. Love's romance shadowed by fear's drama. July 4th. Fireworks exploding over the Hollywood Bowl. Found me alone on our fire escape. Chain pendant twisted in fists. His knock came soft. Evan. Please. We talked till embers died. His imposter syndrome in spotlights. My resentment at carrying the stable load. Therapy together? He proposed. I agreed. Humanistic hope flickering. Rebuilding was gritty joint sessions in WeHo, where we excavated roots, his nomadic youth breeding flight, my rejections forging fortresses. Dates recommenced. Picnics in Runyon Canyon, his readings of love sonnets amid wildflowers. August brought a truce gift. Jack declining a New York pilot for a local series. Roots here with you. Gratitude swelled. We vacationed in Big Sur. Cliffside cabin where waves therapyed deeper than words. Nights of slow, sacred reconnection. Fall semester, bar prep loomed, but equilibrium held. Dad's October visit overlapped Jack's pilot table read, a meta-blend of worlds. Over dim sum, Dad quizzed residuals, Hollywood money, better than the mill. Laughter flowed, barriers dust. Yet undercurrents. Paparazzi snaps of Jack with co-stars, innocent but incendiary, fueling my midnight scrolls. November's chill winded through palms. heralding Thanksgiving. We hosted Mom and Dad flying in, Sasha and clinic pals crowding our table. Turkey carved with Dad's pocket knife. Toasts to family chosen and given. Jack's hand under the table. Steady. Love's emotion. Raw and romantic. In every glance. But post-feast. A call from Tyler, Jack's agent forwarding. Loose end. An apology video. Contrite but laced with what-ifs. Jack deleted it, but the glitch replayed in my dreams. December's solstice party at the firm, black tie schmooze, tested metal. Jack. Arm candy in tailored velvet. Charmed partners. But a producer's flirtation lingered too long. Whispers of off-Broadway callback. Homeward cab. Jealousy flared. Another escape hatch? He sighed. Trust the work, Evan. We've earned it. Bed that night was a battlefield turned boudoir. Passion purging poison. Christmas in the Keys was redemption's arc. Dad's charter boat. Mom's eggnog spiked with rum. Jack hook and line fishing tales that had us howling. Bonfire on the beach. Stars a canopy. Dad pulled us aside. Saw my reflection in you too. Fought hard. Loved harder. Don't let go. His voice cracked. The man who dragged me from bed now blessing our bed. Tears mingled with salt spray. Grace. Unearned but embraced. New Year's in LA. Times Square on TV. Our balcony strung with lights. Champagne toasts to us. Unbroken. Jack's resolution. Write our story screenplay. Real. Mine. Live it first. Kisses under fireworks. Dramatic and devoted. But 2026 dawned with drama's shadow. Jack's series greenlit. Filming in Vancouver 6 months north. Visit weekends, he planned, but distance loomed like Everest. I nodded, masking the chasm. Firm partners dangled partner track whispers, tying me south. Conflict simmered. Ambition's pull versus love's tether. February's Valentine's blitz. Roses flooding the office. Jack's care package of maple syrup and flannel held the line. But March's callback to Vancouver extended shoots. Calls crackling with static and strain. Miss you became mantra, but subtext screamed, drift. Climax detonated in April. Cherry blossoms mocking from Japan feeds as I flew north unannounced. Set visit. Craft services. His trailer a cocoon of scripts and solitude. I found him with a co-star. Lines blurring into lunch, harmless, till lips brushed in rehearsal kiss turned real. The director called cut. I called end. Betrayal's finale. Cinematic in cruelty. Hotel lobby meltdown. Patterns break people. Jack. His face crumpled. Fame's illusion. You're real. But reality fractured. I flew south. Chain snapped and mailed back. A symbolic severing. Months of exile. Bar prep in a blur. Passing with honors but hollow. Dad's wisdom via mail. Pain forges. Son. But don't forge alone. Mom's hugs in visits. Sasha's brunches. Jack's screenplay arrived. Prayed to be straight. Our story scripted. Ending in reunion. I read it weeping. Flaws laid bare. Humanistic turn. Summer internship in SF bridged gaps. Chance encounters at festivals, Jack. Humbled by series cancellation. Ice pleading. Rewrite the end? Cafe talk stretched to dawn. Forgiveness a script we authored together, therapy. Transparency. A cross-country reset. Fall found us in Chicago, Compromise City. My remote clerkship. His theater gigs. Romance rekindled in Windy City winds. Dramatic but deepened. Dad's letter. Full circle. Love you both. Chicago's skyline pierced the autumn sky like defiant spears. Lake Michigan's waves a constant roar underscoring our fragile restart. We'd leased a walk-up in Wicker Park. Exposed brick and creaky floors a canvas for new strokes. Jack's headshots pinned beside my bar exam plaque. A dual altar to reinvention. Mornings hummed with possibility. His coffee brewing strong. My outlines scribbled in margins of his monologue runs. Scene 2. The drag from bed. Heat and tone. Hazel eyes locking mine. Turning trauma to theater. Laughter followed. Healing's balm. As we scripted not just art, but life. The city embraced us with brusque affection. Improv nights at Second City where Jack's timing slayed. Deep dish debates at Pequod's that ended in greasy kisses. My clerkship at a boutique firm. Pro bono heavy on civil rights. Fed the soul. Arguing appeals for asylum seekers fleeing conversion camps abroad. Echoes of my own exorcism. You're a warrior, Jack said after a win. Toasting with malort that burned like absolution. Romance flowered in quiet dramatics. Twilight sails on the lake. His hand in mine as gulls wheeled. Whispers of forever against wind-whipped sails. Yet scars itched. Vancouver's ghost lingered in Jack's hesitations. Additions dodged for us time. But therapy unpacked the flight reflex. His nomadic blood tempered by roots we'd planted. Dad's monthly calls grounded. Now a volunteer at a Florida LGBTQ+ center. Matching his gravel voice to trembling teens. Telling my story. Nam Crush. The son who taught me love's spectrum. Changed me. Pride swelled. His evolution. Our mirror. Thanksgiving pulled us south. A Harlan Whitaker fusion in the Keys. Mom's table groaned under turkey and key lime. Dad and Ray, Jack's uncle. Flown in, bonding over vet tales and bad puns. Lily, now 14 and out as by. Grilled Jack. You gonna lock this down? He winked at me. Working on the sequel. Laughter rang. Humanistic harmony in mismatched chairs. Conflicts resolved in shared pies. Winter's grip tightened Chicago's pulse. Holidays a whirlwind. Tree lightings at the Bean. His stage debut in a Steppenwolf queer review. Me front row. Tears blurring spotlights as he embodied a lover's redemption. Critics raved. Harlan's raw emotion cuts like glass. Backstage roses from me. Thorns pricked but petals pressed in journals. New Year dawned with vows renewed. No more solos. Transparency as plot armor. Jack's screenplay, prayed to be straight, garnered festival buzz. Sundance nod. Ironic homecoming. We flew to Park City in January 27. Snow-blanketed peaks a stark contrast to LA's gloss. Premiere night. Velvet seats. My hand sweating his as the opening scene unspooled. The drag from bed. Bible thudding. My younger self's terror captured in an actor's wide eyes. Gasps rippled. Tears streamed mine. Q&A. Jack's voice steady. This is us. Evan's story. Our fight. Love wins. Messy as hell. Standing ovation thundered. But climax waited off stage. Producers circling with series offers. NYC-based. 6 figures. Cab ride back. Elation soured. Chicago's home, I said. But this. It's your shot. Conflict crested in the lodge firelight. Flames dancing like our arguments past. Shots come and go, he countered. You don't. We chose hybrid. Remote firm work. His commuting gigs. Love the lodestar. Spring bloomed with balances struck. My bar passage celebrated with rooftop toasts. Jack's off-Broadway run in a Steppenwolf transfer. Betrayal's embers? Extinguished in trust's forge. Tyler's blocked. Patterns broken. Romance deepened dramatically. Surprise weekend in Door County. Cabin whispers planning adoptions. Rings glinting in future visions. Dad's health scare hit in June. Minor stroke. Florida sun too fierce, yanking us east. Hospital vigil, monitors beeping. His grip weak but eyes fierce. Don't fret, boy. Got stories left. Recovery in Milford Redux. The farm sold, but cousins' barbecues wove us in. Jack charmed with grill mastery. Dad's nod. Family now. Mom's garden. Once my prayer ground. Now hosted our picnics, humanistic circles closing. Summer's heat wave tested. Jack's New York pilot callback. A week in the apple tempting fates. I paced our loft. Lake views mocking solitude. But his return, script in hand. Pass. Chicago calls. Sealed fidelity. You're my plot twist, he grinned, sweeping me to bed. Fall 27 brought the wedding small, profound. In a Michigan orchard, apples crimson as our ties. Dad walked me down the aisle, arm steady, Mom dabbing eyes beside Ray. Vows exchanged under arching branches. From prayers to promises, I choose you, Jax. I do cracked with emotion. Rings simple bands etched with infinity. Reception. Bonfire toasts. Lily's speech roasting our dramatics. Dance under stars to Springsteen, Born to Run. Fitting anthem. Honeymoon in the Smokies. Cabins and cascades. Bodies and books. Love's romance unscripted. Back to Chicago. Life layered. My junior partnership. Jack's teaching gig at a community theater. Mentoring kids like we'd been, scared, sparkling. Climax's echo faded to denouement. A year on. Dad's letter arrived. Grandkids? Or just visits? Either way, blessed. We laughed. Adopting a rescue pup, Max. All wags and wisdom, first steps toward family. Betrayal's lessons wove the fabric. Conflicts fire tempers. Emotions tide carves canyons of depth. In a city of reinventions, our story, dramatic, emotional, romantic, unfolded humanistic. Not flawless, but full. Evenings on the balcony, Jack's head on my shoulder, lake lights twinkling like distant prayers answered. One night, post-rehearsal, he pulled a draft. Sequel prayed to be whole. Our next act, I nodded, kissing his temple. Write it with me, and so we did pen to page, heart to heart in the American sprawl, where love, bent but unbroken, runs eternal.